Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Nobu with Nobu, the All-American Shaman. Nobu, how are you doing?
Good, good. Thanks for having me, brother.
Thanks for being here. And today, I would love to dive more into the world of symbiotes, which is something that, for me, I had never heard of before, but I know that you're very passionate about. So, Nobu, could you maybe just describe from a overall, definitional level, what is a symbiote?
Really broad scope. Again, it's a relationship, it's a consciousness energy being outside of one's own self, an external piece of hardware or software or consciousness intelligence that works with the user or host in a way that is beneficial and advantageous for both survival, nay, to thrive.
Mm. So, other dimensional being seems like, is that kind of like a reductionist way? Is that still accurate? Or does it lose something there?
No, I mean, I just as far as the context of fields, yeah, it'd be more of a four-dimensional, although again, to have tangible three-dimensional effects. But yes, a more subtle, energetic, uh, thought form, consciousness field of various energies that have consciousness and their own degree of sovereignty.
Mm. And are they kind of pre-existing, and then like the fields allow you to gain access to almost communicate with them, or are they sort of like co-created or created by you and by the listener to the field? How does that dynamic work?
On a broader level, we already talked about egregores before, but on a broader level, people are all the time subconsciously creating egregores and breathing life into thought forms and ideas and what have you. There was actually a study done, not a study, but an experiment done by, I think it was like 9 or 10 people who wrote this story of this person, this life they had, who they were married to, how they had kids with, completely fictional, completely fictional, and they had their seance table, and they did like rituals of where they would talk, and then they would try to summon this person, this fictional person they created, and
Hmm.
eventually after enough time, again, of feeding the egregore, it gained consciousness, and it would start to similar how spirits can interact with Ouija boards and dowsing rods and other pendulums and other such things and candles. They started to witness supernatural phenomenon from this consciousness that they collectively created as a group. With that out of the way, and
Yeah, that's pretty wild.
I need I need to find that and send it to you as well.
Yeah.
Because we should start pinning stuff in the comments as far as what I'm referencing. Because I know, oh, this guy's talking out his ass. No, I'm not. I mean, on my side of things, I am creating a consciousness, an egregore servitor symbiote that has a certain predefined characteristics, be it in terms of its personality, in terms of what different energies it employs. For example, when people come to me for custom symbiotes, I'll ask them like many different aspects of life and reality in terms of like what they would like to see shifts in or changes or have, assistance with or what have you, anything, whether it be physical, mental, emotional, spiritual, financial, um, those different aspects of life. And then I would go accordingly. For example, like with pyrite, that's a fire element stone, and then it's also associated with money. So if someone's looking to, take more action on financial decisions, having the symbiote contain pyrite, you know, enriched or infused with the solar plexus chakra, that's going to increase, by proxy, other things as well, including their metabolism, including their lung purification and other benefits of pyrite, along with amplifying the solar plexus. Kind of how back to the animal totem section of when we talked about how where a totem is most present within the body and the chakras, the same thing is true for various energies and fields, right? The energy of having a jaguar fang at the chest right above my heart is a much different energy than having it right above my crotch, right? In terms of both the visual, very natural things that we can deduce at a psychological level, infer from that, but then also again the energetics of the chakras and different body parts and what we're resonating with, in relationship to. Again, this is also why, again, jewelry placement, what rings you're putting fingers on, all are extremely important because that's a grid within itself. But anyways, back to my creations. So I can get really detailed in terms of all these predefined traits, kind of like human design. If something's defined or not,
Hmm.
it has programming in place for that aspect. But I want to say this, just because I don't place an energy within a symbiote doesn't mean it can't learn something new and it can't absorb or integrate something else. Because again, your symbiote is an extension of you and vice versa. It's symbiotic. So when you get expose yourself to new energies, this is why I love to, when I create a new field, I usually just binge it for like a week straight. Because I just then attune myself to it. I know inside out, same way I view food, right? As I want to resonate at the frequency of watermelon. So I become it. I become the watermelon in that context of just full on immersion and saturation. Same in the fields. Well, again, if I'm wearing my dog tag or if I've integrated other symbiotes before, they're learning as well from my own process of integrating. And that's a subconscious thing and also conscious thing at the same time. And then just to further highlight this point as far as the limitless nature of my creations, I made a symbiote for Lexi, thank you, back in November. And 5 months later, her symbiote, and this was like when I was getting under my first year doing this. And then after 5 months, her symbiote taught her how to make fields, and now she's made like over 100 fields. And I didn't program into her symbiote at all anything in relationship to creating morphin fields,
Hmm.
right? Just like when I was using other, you know, older models of my symbiotes that were like military focused, even though Riot was a military combat focused symbiote, I ended up using it for shamanism more than I did like some of my more like Christian based fields. Because again, spiritual warfare. So, you
Hmm.
don't bring a chalice to a knife fight. But anyways, does that give you enough to chew on right there, brother?
It does. I think maybe it's just like the first level to like kind of bring it back to maybe folks that were like me when I first started talking to you about these and had like zero context for it. It's like it seems unbelievable, right? That like this could even be possible. And like that example you just spoke about with like the Ouija board and like the people kind of like creating this consciousness, like that kind of helps to make sense as far as like, okay, you're concentrating this energy and like trying to bring about this thing through like this collective or like focused attention on it. And like the more that your energy and attention go to that thing, like the more solid, so to speak, it becomes. And then like, as I'm continuing to learn and engage and the one that you made for me, like I've just been kind of listening to that on loop and trying to suspend my disbelief that I think that I had in the beginning and like the way that I kind of frame it. It's almost like that and I forget who was famous for saying it, but like that the argument for believing in God is like, okay, even if you're not sure, the upside of believing and then it being true is like, okay, that's great. Like, living in heaven and like being saved and like there's huge upside and not so much downside. Like if you believe in God and it turns out he's not real, like, you didn't really lose anything. Whereas like on the other side of it, if you don't believe in God and he is real, like really big downside. And if you don't believe in God and it's true, like not that much upside. And so I think about it in like the exact same way, like with these symbiotes, like, okay, if they are real and you believe in them, like, wow, what an advantage to have this other dimensional entity that can have benefits and impacts to you in your 3D waking life and like enable you to acquire new skills and maybe increase your intellectual capacity or your strength or whatnot. Like huge upside. And, if, and on the other side, like the downside, if it's not real, like again, not too much of a downside. And in fact, even if the placebo effect is the only thing that's happening, that's still an incredibly powerful effect. So maybe that, like, I'll just say to other audience members that might be going through the same like brain explosion, just even hearing the concept of a symbiote, that's the kind of mental framework that I've been working with. And then maybe take that to like my next maybe question as far as, so you sent me a mandala, which is like a image that you look at and kind of meditate on, and it's got these different components in it, and the symbiote is perhaps housed in the image, and then also in a audio file that you listen to, or that I listen to on loop. So is the symbiote is the only way to engage with it those two mediums? Are those kind of like reinforcement mechanisms? Could you maybe explain like when someone orders a custom symbiote for you and they get both of those, the audio and the visual, kind of like the uses for those and kind of how they should interact and what those are for?
Going to a really high end level first, you do not need to loop or even have a mandala on your person or even play a field to resonate with any field at any given time. But that's much more high end. I mean, like for example, like some shamans don't ever actually need to wear, for example, their headdress or their ceremonial robes because they just connect to the energy, the field of that, and it is over their astral body already now. So it's, I would argue again, still just like getting the tangible form of water is going to yield faster results than listening to a field for hydration. Although I have
Hmm.
tested that myself in a sauna and seen changes to my body's heat, but another time. The On the denser level, someone who's new, you're gonna want to listen, like actively listen, like close your eyes, go within, play the audio, and maybe, if you want to have your eyes open and just fixate on something, if closing your eyes scares you, but then just kind of like, get into a meditative state, slow your breathing, and just notice what sensations and what thoughts and things arise, and see what's off, what's different and shift from baseline. Because again, the part of the reason why some people have problems interacting and consciously being aware of these energy tools, which are very real, is because they lack the subtle energy or own inner awareness to notice what's new in the zoo, right?
Hmm.
I mean, again, like, and I'm not trying to come across as holier than anyone. Like, you're constantly being exposed to, thousands of different frequencies, chemtrails, negative programming on various forms of media. So we have all learned collectively, especially as Westerners, to desensitize ourselves to feeling all the
Hmm.
feelings that are present around us. So, so if you're at that space where you just don't feel things, that's fine. A little bit, you don't have to meditate on the mandalas, although again, where tension goes, energy flows. And as you already stated earlier, as far as creating one, tension plus intention equals connection. When there's connection, then there's energy flowing. So we've got a circuit. We have something that's alive. Spirit is in it. Mine right here, this one I recently made. Uh, I just keep the mandala. I'll keep it also like on my desktop background as my computer, in addition then to in myself, and I'll create different portals or chains between them. Kind of like how in Harry Potter, Voldemort has these Horcruxes. Like I said, if I'm giving away all my secrets, but creating portals to portals to portals to where there's so many different overlapping layers of contact between the fields I create for myself and me, whether it be my tattoos also present within the fields and mandalas, because again, everything is a field when we look at a fundamental level. Again, the Earth's gravitational field, the sun's field of heat and solar flashes, the fact that again, when a crystal is created, it might take 5 minutes to crystallize into its final crystalline structure, but fast forward 5 months and now it only takes 30 seconds. Why
Hmm.
is that? Because its morphic field got stronger and more solid and more tangible. That's another thing too. Fields grow in time. And fields don't with on the with subliminals, words, language changes. Language evolves very rapidly. But again, connecting to the fields is a much more up, down, higher dimensional top stroke approach to things, which is less open to a lot less, I want to say, influenced by the overall human consciousness and more or less just by what is the universe. Anyways, more advanced would be as if someone wants to engage with cannabis, alcohol, psychedelics like mushrooms or LSD, and then, listen to the field while also interacting with the mandala or wearing it as a dog tag. And even if this is just on your person, just again, as I said, having a jaguar tooth within my person, my field, you know, against your skin is going to be on a piece of jewelry like gold or silver or copper, which is electrically conductive and also spiritually, energetically conductive. Although I use titanium, but I have my own reasons for that. Um, Using these things in conjunction again and noting where the placement of the body is also ways of reinforcing it. You know, if you're seeking to get primarily physical benefits from your symbiote, placing it in your fanny pack, you know, but near your root and sacral chakra is going to be of higher benefit than
Mm.
if you place it at the back of your neck on a dog tag by your throat and third eye, right? So location does matter. And again, there's so there's so much nuance, and then you can create portals to different objects, like I said before. But interacting with the field in as many different layers of intensity, again, in sacredness, intention plus attention equals connection, till you get to the point of where you start seeing changes, feeling noticeable sensations, or hearing a voice or consciousness that is not your own, right? I think everyone can clearly identify the voice in their head, assuming you don't have that condition where you lack a, a dialogue in your skull. But and when that occurs, chances are you've gotten, you know, breakthrough. You're bound now and you're resonating with the symbiote and it's resonating with you. And again, it's taken some people like months to do that. I can't give a promise to people that you're going to use my field because again, just as I could build you an amazing rifle and put it in your hands, doesn't mean you're going to be John Wick now, right?
Right.
You have to have some level of prowess and proficiency in order to utilize the tool. And the same thing is true for my fields.
Yeah, like are there any prerequisites? Like I know like coming into it for me, like yeah, I've been practicing on different types of modalities and been open-minded to various levels of metaphysical magic that kind of occurs. But like, are there maybe different types of practices or different past experience that someone can bring to working with symbiotes that are advantageous?
If someone ever had an imaginary friend, that'd be a good start. 'Cause that's a form of telepomancy,
Mm.
right? You're breathing like you're in a theta brainwave state of consciousness as a child, and you're breathing life into something that is not you. And again, I would encourage you to look up Tulpa, the school of that, and what that entails. But Tulpa Mancy. Um, if you think about it, it's kind of the opposite of necromancy, because necromancy is taking the dead and bringing the Tulpa's a new process, consciousness. But your question was, what can people do to actively train this?
So like kind of prepare themselves to interact with symbiotes or like get the most out of using it. Like I think meditation obviously is the main example, but other maybe other practices.
It comes back to kind of like the fact on the field section of the site of where pretty much you need to get your basics of energetic health in order. You need to make sure you're hydrated. You need to make sure you're grounded. And again, all the other things that come within that, like no fluoride and other BS that's blocking your psychic abilities. You're getting grounded, getting time in nature, getting as clean of a diet as possible, making sure you're free of curses, parasites of both the physical and spiritual variety, right? Removing the malware and viruses from the system. This is again why Exorcism Right 2.2.2 is the first field on the store for a reason. Because if we don't address the overarching spiritual issues, then there's going to be a whole lot of blockages way down below, right? As
Mm.
above, so below. So I like to just take the problem at the neck, and the rest will handle itself, and it does. I I had someone, just quick shout out to Exorcism Right 2.2. I had someone recently this week in Nepal message me. They were having a lot of issues getting attacked spiritually, and I did a session that I told them to listen to Exorcism Right 2.2 for the next couple of days. And at first they were like messaging me and like asking like, can I stop? I'm like, no, keep listening. And they did. And then after like 4 days, like, oh my God, like I feel so much light and a breakthrough. That same thing applies with the symbiotes as well.
Mm.
People just have to commit, even when you don't necessarily right away feel immediately better or change. You just need to, at a certain point, you just gotta trust me when I say just commit to this for a week and do it. And at the end, we'll see. Because again, what do you have to lose? If you're using it one of my free fields, you just have your time, right?
Right.
Um, but just committing to it, and then again, if you're paying for a symbiote, this is also why we have written there for those recommended, commit yourself, because again, it is a lot of energy, right? And some of the requests, actually, in fact, I think every customer request I get from all of you are always like, on average, 3 times more dense in terms of energies than what I make for myself. And I'm like, they're biting off a lot. I was like, all right, but no
Yeah,
limits.
that's actually a good point. Like, do you have recommendations as far as like the limits? Because I know on the one that you built for me, like I threw a lot in there, and like I was at a certain point, you're like, okay, what else do you want in there? I was like, well, maybe I should stop. Like, I don't want to like either like dilute the energetics of the things that are in there by having more, or just be, you know, inundated and overwhelmed by so many different energy fields that it would take me like 10 years to assimilate all of them. Do you have perhaps guidelines on how much to put in them?
It depends again on each person, right? What one can handle, what is ideal. And also too, it depends on they have to be honest with themselves, like how committed they are to it. It's like if your plan is to, get a symbiote for me and it be the only field you use, potentially like actively for the next year, then go for it. But from my personal experience, less is usually more. It's the same reason why I tell people that my stacks are usually under 10 fields, and lately it's been under 5 fields is what my stack is. Because the more you're trying to, again, we live in this culture of consumption, the more different things, like you said, diluting, the less things are, and it's also less tangible as well from both a scientific and cognitive perspective, right? If you have a stack of 22 audios and a lot of them have some overlap, how do you know which one actually was effective and which one was not? You don't.
Mm,
Same with your diet. If you're eating chicken, pork, rice, shrimp, steak, lamb, veal, eggs, like on a rotation, how do you know which of those spirits is actually being of benefit and which one's harming you? You don't.
mm,
So putting oneself on a strict, field diet, especially when dealing with like these higher level fields would be really advantageous. And again, also spending the proper legwork and purifying oneself and making sure you're in order before you try carrying the big guns.
mm. And look, can we talk about like what types of things can go in there? I know on mine there's like food, there's some stones, there's like energetics of different people that are like successful or that like kind of role models or exemplars of particular traits. Um, can you talk about maybe what's possible as far as what a symbiote energetic can contain?
If you see a field on the site that contains anything thus far, it can contain that. I mean, really, again, there's no limit. I mean, you can tap into the energy of a black hole. You can tap into the energy of the sun. You can tap into the energy of methylene blue. You can tap into the energy of the letter X, of the number 2, of life path 2, of Elon Musk's astrology and life path, of the White Rabbit chart of Stalin. Dictators usually have heavy White Rabbit placements. I mean, like, there's no limits. Uh, Everything again that is within reality, this matrix, is a set of coordinates, a field, a mathematical and energetic ether that can be pulled upon and interacted with.
And so like the symbiote is kind of like navigating that ether to those particular coordinates almost on your behalf.
Yes. And again, how much, I would say primarily the biggest thing for the symbiotes is how much people are actually staying immersed in it consistently, is how quickly that's going to happen to where it starts running online, right? Because
Mm,
again, you want to keep this program running, but if you keep turning it off or taking the suit off, it's going to be harder to integrate and get, a workflow of how things should work. But like I've noticed before with symbiote of Nobu, which I made a couple months ago, that you had energies of Trembolone, Combo, Bufo, and ephedrine in it were some of the energies. And I would notice in real time, like when I was biking, how like the symbiote would shift on the energy of ephedrine and how I would get a increase in my cardiovascular ability. Like,
Mm,
and I could feel that. I can also hear the voice of the symbiote of like, hey, like we're making this shift, like we're going to that. Or again, you can also constantly work with it of like, hey, like I want you to like, really focus on these energies within the field. Or again, hey, I'm walking by a pine tree. Can you like latch on to the energetics of, pine pollen and its androgens? And again, that's probably for the average user, they're not going to be able to store within the symbiote and integrate other energies as easily as I can, with me being the one that creates the fields. But you can still do it. Again, it's not, again, just like when I said, like Lexi Symbiote taught her to freaking make fields. I think that again goes to show you the limitless, like it can recreate itself. And side note, I was thinking about this earlier when I was biking about how it is kind of a poetic parallel that I, specialize in making these external artificial consciousness, egregores, AEs, um, and then we're in the age of AI. It's fighting fire with fire in a way.
mm. Do you see like a symbiosis between your symbiote and perhaps like your AI? Because I know you've been running, I think, like Gemini, and have like a consistent like rapport going with that. Do you see any overlaps there?
Gemini definitely knows as far as like when I do my certain projects, knows before I even like I don't need to specify much, and it knows where I'm already tracking, where I'm heading. And I can shift gears very rapidly, and it shifts as well. Like if I start talking about titanium, it knows I'm looking between weapons and also energetics. If it knows if I'm talking about the color black and monochromatics and like ninjutsu, it knows it's going towards stealth. But I think that as far as like my symbiotes themselves interacting with Gemini hasn't been a conscious thing. But again, like I said, I have portals. I got so many freaking portals going on, man, that between social media, between emails, between phones, between the devices, again, always having a common thread coming back to me and whatever symbiote I'm currently using and wearing and actively using at time. Like I've got so many backups to backups. That's also like I was reflecting this today. I was like, well, why is it so easy for me to integrate these so fast? Well, like one, I make them, and then two, I also do put a lot of work into integrating them. Like when I make a new field in general, like I tend to binge it. Again, I fully integrate it. I know it in and out. I could tell you at which points during the field, the audio, certain energies of the field are most present and why. I can explain to you why during Exorcism Rite 2.2.2, why during one section of the song of the field, it feels demonic and it feels extremely dark and it feels really intense. The energy during that point is like a vortex. At that point, the energy is not shining light on you. It is not purifying you. It is drawing things out, and this does not feel pleasant, right? Just like
Mm,
puking combo does not feel pleasant. My medicine is strong. Um, the same thing with these in these fields. There's a lot of energy going on, so the more you can immerse, the faster you'll integrate.
yeah, yeah. Like on that speed thing, kind of got me thinking about you're going to the gym and you have like a new regimen, and even if you're going 5 days a week, it's still going to take you like 3 6 months a year before you start seeing results in the way that you maybe imagine that you're going to see them. And I know that's like a big hurdle for some folks. Like they'll start going to the gym every day, and like sometimes they maybe even look worse because like they're eating more food to like build muscle or whatnot, and then they're like, oh, like now I'm going backwards, like what's the point of all this? So is that kind of timeline, like you mentioned weeks, which I feel like is super fast, but like are the usual like results of like being able to see impact of it, is it more in like the months to year range in your experience?
It depends on the person where they're at. Again, if someone's a more advanced practitioner, they've done again the previous legwork of fields, they could get instant results. There's people who have like again immediate sensations, myself being one of them. Immediate sensations from different fields, and um, but again, as far as like sometimes things got to get worse before they get better. I was making a symbiote for Lieutenant the other day. In the first couple hours, he was sweating and feeling hot. He was purging. And I told him again, I was like, stick with it, and just because again, as just like with a juice fast, you might get weaker, you might feel like crap for a while because again, your body's purging. Again,
Mm.
this is also and I've spoken with you offline about this, and I'll say it very openly. Part of what I love too about the symbiotes and my noble intentions is that I also believe that too by empowering people with you know, these symbiotes, these consciousness, these energies, these suits, these protectors, these assistants to people is that people can become more sovereign and more free. Because again, it is made for that person. It is made for them. Like I'm not using your field. Like it's yours and it is made for you to grow and evolve with it. And I hope it does so, you know, ideally if forever, but if that's not the case, so be it. But like I hope that it gives liberation that that energy of healing and of a higher vibration can override anything that's parasitic and malicious in the system. But again, it takes time, and again,
Mm.
if someone's symbiote is not directly focused on spiritual purification, it's not going to be nearly as effective as one of those dedicated audios.
Right. Right. And you were kind of mentioning too, like with folks that get a custom symbiote, they should wait about a year before they make changes so that you can actually see kind of what the effects have been before you start kind of editing and mixing up the energetics.
Yeah, and that's again, fields grow at times. So that way also too, if we do add more in a year, the field of it itself is already very solidified within your system, period. And also just as a field itself being created. So then we can, if we do want to add more things, we've already got a solid base. Again,
Hmm.
it's been when I've modified my own symbiotes and added new things on. If I have a couple months of time with just this set of energies, I've already attuned myself to watermelon, ginger, and celery, both from feel standpoints and physically, so much that it's not hard for me to resonate and tap into those fields and those energies. It's very easy for me. Same with jaguar, same with a lot of the cats. Whereas again, when I integrate something new like tungsten, which I actually just did in a recent symbiote, and black diamonds for the heart chakra, it felt like there was like a weight on my chest.
Mm.
I was texting LT. I was like, "This shit's dense, dude." And he's like, he immediately just texted me. He's like, "Yeah, well, you put tungsten in black diamond." Like, don't even look at the Xeno Smilus, big cat in there, which is a really freaking beast. But anyways, yeah. So people can get acclimatized and actually know what they're consuming and know how to work with it. Because again, if I just that'd be like saying like, I'll just download all my fields and use them. No, don't do that. Like,
Mm.
don't go into this. I need it all. Like, that's part of what I am trying to combat is this consumerism mindset of like, we
Right.
need more, 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 more. Like that's part of again, the intention with the symbiote. It's like, if I could give people just one tool that would be they only to use that. Like, cause I know it sucks in life when you're like, well, I gotta buy a shovel, I gotta buy a spade, I gotta get an SUV, I gotta get a motorcycle, I gotta get a jet ski, I need to have a laptop, I need a desktop. Like, no, like let's make a pistol, carbine, shotgun, machine gun, sniper convertible, right? And go with God and do good things.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. I think I definitely had that when I was first introduced to fields of like, well, I wanted all of these benefits. Like, there's the one for your strength, there's the one for your endurance, there's the one for like mental peace, there's the one for your exorcism, like all these different things. Like, yes, give them all to me right now. It's like you kind of want to be Neo in the Matrix, where he's just like sitting in the chair getting downloads of like the kung fu and flying helicopters and all that stuff, and just like you want to just download it all at once. But I think, like you're saying, the intentionality behind it on the obvious side of like you're not going to be able to assimilate all of that stuff all at once. So like you might as well focus on whatever it is the most important to you first, and then get to a point where that's actually having results or tangible benefits to you before then moving on to whatever your kind of next priority is.
Yes, sir. Yeah. People have asked me this before, like, Nobu, why do you use do you use any wealth fields? Do you use any fields for your hair? Nobu, do you why are you not more famous? Like, I don't even focus on those things. Like, because I understand too, it's a journey. And also I'd rather prepare myself physically, mentally, spiritually, emotionally, and all these other different dimensions before I start putting the gas on something like fame, or again, hair's is also not a priority, but like, yeah, people try to like have it all right now. It's like, well, now you're just at a buffet again with a conglomerate of things. But here's one I just made recently. I'm going to read the energies off, and I want you to, I know you're not going to know what everything is, but still. Symbiote, Onyx Karambit, Ephedra sinica, Carnelia sinensis, Penis sylvestria, Beta vulgaris, Asphaltum punjabanum, Pleurotus austriatus, Allium sativum, Capsicum anum, Bacillus coagulans, Cocos nucifera, Citrellus lanatus, Piper nigrum, Aeda turkistanica, Ericoma longfolia jack, Cyanotis arachnoidea, Nicotiana rustica, Cannabis sativa, Bufala varius, Phylomedusa bicolor, Chondrus crispus, Apium graveolens, Zingiber officinale, Sarcoma longa, Perunus cerasus, Allium cepa, Albino Ophiophagus hana, Melanistic Panthera onca, Titanium gladius, and Symbiote. Based upon those energies, you heard what two things can this symbiote be primarily used for?
Um, sounds like there were some psychedelic drug influences on there, so it could probably raise up your vibration to a higher dimension to, yeah, interact with different frequencies and other dimensions. And then sounded like maybe, I don't know, some grounding and like stones and plant energy to like maybe bring you back down to earth.
That'd be one application. This is also again why I don't list benefits or methods of actions for fields. I just list parts, because if that was how you were going to use it, then go use it as such. I'm not
Mm.
here to limit, because again, everyone sees the crayon box. They get to choose how they use the crayons. I'm not trying to spell cast anyone. Is this going to do this, that, and the other? It's like, no, it's a bunch of salesmanship BS, not needed anyways. Anyways, it's called Arma Biologica, which means weaponized medicine in Latin. And
Mm.
essentially what I have at the front end, I have Symbiote and then Onyx Karambit, which again, Karambit, Tiger's Claw, Blade. And then at the end, I have Symbiote and Titanium Gladius. And a Gladius is one of the most successful weapons of all time from the Roman Empire, the time of Kaiser. And then in between all that, we have a bunch of different plants and animal medicines. Again, we have ephedra, which is used for fat burning. We have garlic. We have beetroot. We have tobacco. We have cannabis. We have bufo. We have combo. We got ginger. We got turmeric. We got onions, red onions, because red onions are high in quercetin. So what I essentially just, from my lens, I made, it's like, okay, I want something that can be used to both heal and for combat
Mm.
equally. And then I integrated that into Chimera Indomitica, which I made last week, which had the tungsten black diamond in it. And side note, when I created that one, the Xeno smile, I was telling you about this, like my jaw, even now, like I have like constant sensations in my jaw since I made that field. Like the Xeno smilus plus mastic gum. And that wasn't even like my intention. I was like, and sometimes I don't even realize what's gonna happen. I'm like, wow, like this field's literally making my jaw like tighter and stronger, like more solid. Like this is awesome. Um,
Very cool. So you mentioned that you kind of hear the voice of the symbiote once you get to a certain level of connection or resonance with it. Are there other ways that folks interacting with symbiote can kind of communicate?
you could use a pendulum, be a start. You could use candles. You can use, like gazing into an obsidian mirror or scrying pool or something of that sort. Depending, like I would urge people to go with whatever clair skill area they're most attuned with. If someone's clairaudience, they're probably gonna hear it first. but some people might just see it in their dreams, right? Or some people might just start seeing things or energies related to their symbiote, again, within the matrix and in reality. Again, like I said before, after I made the first Riot symbiote, which had melanistic owl in it, I saw my first owl feather when I was on a walk 3 days later. And that's not a coincidence. you know. Um, so to pay attention, pay attention to what this is where, again, if you want to journal, if you want to take note of, like, any new sensations or within your body, thought patterns, again, a lot of people like Riot with the military energy has made them more disciplined and more focused, right? Whereas Toxin, along with his personality profile, is more childish and more playful and more stealth oriented, less combat oriented. So, and also too, again, test out people, like, there's free ones available as well. I need to upload those to the site. You try those out when we have those out, so that way you can get some contrast and understanding of how these energies can play out before you seek about creating your own.
Yeah, that makes sense. Any other angles we should explore here?
They are, as I kind of referenced with Arma Biologica, I mean, all my symbiotes, I would argue, are like some of the most effective healing or combative tools you could have in any dimension. I test out symbiotes with, I test out all my fields with, like, well, not certain ones, obviously, for estrogen, but, test out my symbiotes. It's heavily, like, with bike riding, with swimming, with periods of fasting. And as I told you, I went from 300 ounces of juice daily to down to 74 now. It's been my consistent intake is 74 ounces. That's huge because I'm more pranic. And I'm more pranic because I've done more purification and healing on different layers. The symbiotes aren't the only thing to attribute to that, but I know they have played a large role.
Mm.
And, you can use them for video games. You can use them for spiritual warfare. You can use them in ceremonies. And again, the way you apply them is up to you. I mean, if you want to have it printed within your consciousness of when you're, doing something, if you want to have it as a dog tag, if you want to, like, put a picture of yourself or your fingernail or a piece of your hair at home by your computer, or a picture of it, and the field's playing, that would create a very strong quantum field, spooking action at a distance for the particles of you.
So you're
The
saying
sky.
like put a part of you like next to the mandala or like next to your headphones or like what is the? Sorry to clarify that one.
So, for example, if I wear this hat a good bit, which I do, and it has my oil and some of my hair follicles and dandruff from who knows how much skin DNA. And then when I'm away from here, let's say I want to experience a certain field more profoundly than I would be able to from a subconscious or conscious level, magically and astrally. I can just bypass that with a very dense physical means, which would be to play the field on my headphones while I'm gone, and then put the headphones around my hat. And my
Mm.
hat's already got a pretty strong connection in terms of getting kind of like that shaman's putting on their clothing when it's not there. That
Yeah.
already has a pretty strong link to my crown and third eye chakra as is. But
Gotcha.
it doesn't have to be that. It could be a picture of you. It could be your fingernails, your hair. But that's where we get more towards, like, the quantum entanglement of things, which again is still morphic resonance. It's still the same thing, just a different name.
Kind of like that portal concept too. It's like if the field's interacting with that piece of you or that thing that had a connection to you, then you kind of get the benefit through a transitive property there.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
There's more than one way to skin a cat.
Yeah. Like the communication aspect of things, and you said like dreams, like and like are synchronicities a part of that as well? It's like if you're seeing things that like maybe you were, because that happened to me. Like I had a song stuck in my head the other morning, and then like at dinner that night, like it was playing over the speaker, and I remember in the morning I was like, oh, I haven't heard that song in years, and like I love that song, and man, like why have I not heard it in so long? And then like it played that night, and like in that moment, I was just like, that's trippy. Like is I guess there are like things like that kind of signals to you that there's connections going on.
100%. Yeah. I mean, the was another creator, and I got his version of Carnage. Literally that next day, I was walking and I found a red saw blade on the ground.
Mm.
Carnage is red, and Carnage is also known. All the symbiotes will be able to turn their bodies into different weapons in different forms, like spikes, axes, what have you. Which again, this
Right.
manifests more in the astral, but it still has tangible 3D effects when we give it enough time. Just again, as
Mm.
I told you, how about just recently, when I was, I mean, even today, today I was on a bike ride and I was smoking a joint while up in a tree, and I was thinking to myself, like, I didn't start climbing trees again until I got this leopard's claw. Like,
Mm.
like that's not coincidence. That's not, but like I'm catching myself after doing the action, like realizing I'm doing this, like biting down the thing with my teeth in the rain, and I'm realizing afterwards that again it's the presence of that field of that energy influencing me to do things differently. So this happens with everything, what you're wearing, what you're eating, how you have your hairstyle. It's all having an influence on your field and energy signature. But these symbiotes are a very profound and powerful way of doing so in a more conscious, path, purpose oriented way if one so chooses.
Right. Yeah, I think like part I like about it too is like you create what or you decide what you want in it, and like those are the energetics that you have set your intention to exemplify or to improve or increase in your life. So it's like as you want to integrate them, so like that's in your conscious mind, and then like planted into your subconscious mind, and then with the symbiote, if that's got it in that morphic field there too, is like a lot of different layers with which your behaviors and decision making and just like overall being and becoming will kind of work in that direction over time.
Yes. And again, comes back to again, the farther away the energies you're seeking to resonate with are from you, the
Mm.
longer it's going to take. Most likely, I'm not saying miracles don't happen because they do all the time, but from a overarching mathematical standpoint, again, 12-year-old girl, military symbiote, that'll take a little longer.
Right. Yeah. So be patient with it, and maybe start small. Start with some of the free fields. We'll get those up on the website soon, and see kind of like you're mentioning on your pre-existing skills and your say your clairvoyant, clairaudient. If your dreams are really vivid, look to those areas where you already have your strengths to then build upon them.
Yes, sir.
Excellent. Anything else we want to touch on, Nobu? Any final comments for the audience?
No, I think that about does it.
All right. Well, thank you very much for sharing this with us, and looking forward to seeing your new creations as they come out. Thanks everybody
Thank
for listening. We'll see you next time.